I used to spend more than 3 hours writing user stories manually. Now Jira's AI can do it in seconds. Let me show you exactly how. Today I'm going to show you how I'm starting to use Jira's Atlassian Intelligence to automatically refine epics and generate user stories. Genuinely, what used to take me hours can now take a coffee break. It's incredible. Here is my Jira board, and I've created an example project which is called the e-commerce website. And as you can see, there's a number of different user stories and tasks in here, all mapped to different epics. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to one of those epics, which is called user authentication. And you see I have an initial description here. It says this epic is about providing secure access to the platform by enabling users to register, log in, log out, and recover passwords. It includes support for authentication flows, session management, and validating user credentials. Well, there's two ways that we can use AI to enhance this. The first is to actually improve that description, because it's pretty good, but actually we could add a bit more here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this button up here which says improve epic, and underneath this it gives me a few different options. The first one I'm going to select is improve description. At that point, it will start creating, using its own inbuilt AI, some suggestions. And you can see it has created a suggested version of this description, which actually breaks that down into more detail. There's an objective for the epic. There's some context about the epic. There's some scope in terms of what's included and what's not included, which is fairly generally summarized here, I think. There's some success criteria, which is quite interesting to add at an epic level, some risks and dependencies, and then a placeholder for other information. I'm going to try and do this. I'm going to just replace everything as it suggests, because this looks pretty good. The second thing I can do is, at the moment, I've got a set of different user stories and tasks on here. So 3 stories, one to register, one to log in, one to reset a password, and then a technical task about an integration that's needed. But I could improve this too and get some suggested future user stories that could sit within this same epic area. All I could do for this is I click improve epic again, but this time I'm going to have suggest child work items, and it will generate some other suggestions that might sit alongside the ones I've got already. Here we go. This worked very quickly. So it has suggested 5 different things. One is it suggested user logout functionality. Now that's pretty good. I've got a login, but I've not got anything around logout. That seems a good thing to add. Although the wording says implement user logout functionality, whereas most of mine, I prefer a description that just says register for an account, for instance, where I don't need to use words like implement or functionality. So I quite like this, but I'm just going to make a brief edit. Firstly, I'm mainly using the work type story, so I'm going to replace this with that type. And I'm just going to strip this back, actually, to say log out. I can see it's also got a description that's being put in here automatically that says develop and integrate a secure logout feature. I might change that a little bit as I would evolve this, but that's a pretty helpful description. And most of the rest of this is blank. So I'm going to click create and add that in. And you can do this for each of these. You can review these suggested work items and decide whether to keep them. I think there's a couple that are really good here. Session management, maybe I'm less bothered by that, but I do like this password recovery flow. I haven't got anything like that on my backlog at the moment, but if someone wanted to recover their password, they'll need something like this. So this seems like a great one to do. And maybe for the now, I'll just accept that as it's written. So there you go. That's it. I've worked as a product manager for a number of years now, and I would typically spend a lot of time manually writing out these new user stories and creating descriptions, thinking of the exact wording to use as a starting point. But now Jira does a lot of that work for me, and so instead I can spend my time refining that detail. I genuinely think this is pretty cool, and if you found it helpful, I'd love it if you could like this video. I'm a product manager, I'm sharing lots of tips and tricks, things that I've learned from over the years, but also how I'm utilizing new AI to be able to improve my ways of working. If that sounds like something that's interesting to you, why not subscribe to the channel too, and you can follow along for the journey. If you're starting to use AI in your work as a product manager, let me know how in the comments below. And if you want some more tips around how you can use Jira, well, I'm happy to share anything that I've learned along the way. So let me know what kind of content you'd like to hear about. For now, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.